All right, we are live. I've got Kevin the Geek, Alan with me on our first ever pod here doing a futures pod. We're going to be looking into the future on a weekly basis for a variety of sports, but being that it's August, we're looking to NFL. So, Kevin, welcome, man. What's going on?
All right, man. I love it. We're back together again.
I feel like I never left you.
Football is here. The elbow to fist assassin is back. And we're going to be talking some futures bets here that we're excited about. I'm just excited about the future because NFL season's a couple weeks away, and I want to start getting some bets in. I have some leans, so let's break it down, my man.
Well, first, I just want to thank the Sharp app. We are in, hopefully everyone's watching this inside of the Sharp app. So you can download the Sharp app on Apple, iOS, in the Google Play Store. We're actually launching live, I believe, tonight at midnight, August 18th. It is the go live date. So we're really looking forward to that. And also check out sharpbets.app. And that's where you can get all of the picks from myself, the other coaches, Anthony, Ryan. We've got some new guys in there doing tennis, baseball, a whole lot going on. But you want to get involved with that before this NFL season starts and get ready for week. We've already got preseason stuff. We hammered preseason last week. The preseason game. I know I personally went 5-3 on the preseason. And you're going to want to get in there before week one. I assume you're in agreement with me here, Kev.
You can get my picks in there too, man. I've been crushing it. Fade the mush.
Fade the mush. Yeah, interesting.
Fade the mush. That's all I do. I've been crushing MLB bets up, 4 or 5 units in the last week. Really, really enjoying the system. So if you guys want, my bets, John's bets, all these pros, everybody's tracked. You jump into sharpbets.app. You get signed up over there, get the betting community, all the good stuff. And of course, the Sharp app goes live tonight. So couldn't be more excited. Let's talk some futures.
Yeah, let's talk futures, man. It's kind of cool. I'm on the other side of the screen here. When we do this for DFS Army, I'm over on the other side. You're kind of running the show. So we're going to flip it on this side. Sports betting is more my thing than it is yours. But I want to get the perspective of someone who's deep into the fantasy world and the season-long fantasy world. So I think there's a lot of things that you can look at in season-long fantasy, especially in the props. But we're looking at teams here, and there's some carryover there. You can look at, as you know, in season-long fantasy, the season-long players on bad teams generally don't play as well, right? They don't get as many fantasy points.
One of my biggest things that I talk about when I break down fantasy football, when I do my rankings, and I fight with a lot of people over this because I don't know why it's not universally accepted. Like, my opinions should be universally accepted, but they aren't. But one of my biggest things is I want running backs, as an example, from winning teams. So I do an analysis at the beginning of each year. I'm trying to understand, all right, is this a winning team? Are we winners? Because people are just looking at the player. So I really focus on what team is going to be a winning team so that I can figure out, okay, if we're going to be favored a lot, I want that running back on this team from that team. And if this team's going to be running behind, playing from behind a lot, maybe I don't want to get involved. I also look at across the board the running back position from just how often will this team score. So way too many people look at just volume, but I do look for what type of teams are going to win a lot. Again, in fantasy football, we don't care who wins. I don't care. As long as my running back gets his points or my quarterback, I don't care. But you have to kind of get an idea of which teams are winning teams in order to figure out some of these styles of players. So, and also understanding defenses, schedules, divisional schedules, things like that. So it does translate into sports betting, especially futures betting, quite nicely.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. That's why I really wanted to get you on here, because I wanted to get your opinion on some of these. I get caught up in my spreadsheets and I'm running models that a lot of times, it just becomes a numbers game. And I like to get opinions from people like you, where you're watching the games and you're giving, it's more of, I don't want to say it's a feel. You've got a little bit of a knack for this. And so you come at it from a different perspective. And I like that. I like to be diverse in thinking. So I'm all about the spreadsheets, and you're a little bit of a combination of those things. So let's just dive into it. We're doing this a little bit on the fly. I wanted to look at the Super Bowl. We want to look at some futures. I'll bring up the Super Bowl futures here from DraftKings. Yeah.
Super Bowl futures are really nice because this gives you, it's almost a power ranking of all of the teams in the NFL this year from a betting angle. Like, okay, this is your power rankings right now. Chiefs plus 500. They are favored to win the Super Bowl this year. And the Bucs are really close behind right there at plus 600. And of course, some of our favorites from last year are floating around here with the Bills, Packers. So this is almost a spotlight of who was good last season, right? That's all we know. Who was good last year? That's what we're seeing right here.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole lot of it, right? Even when I do my modeling, it's going to be based off of last year, and then what you have to do is kind of factor in. Most importantly, has there been a quarterback change? Who's that new quarterback? To a lesser degree, the running back and the wide receiver positions. And also, I think a big thing that sometimes gets overlooked is, has the pass rush gotten better and has the pass protection gotten better? That's really what you want to focus on. I know myself, if I was a GM of a professional team, I'd be looking at either, if I can't get that franchise quarterback, and your boys, the Jets, let's see if they did it this year with a franchise quarterback, or if they passed on one. We've been joking about that. But you want to either get that franchise quarterback who then can overcome a bad offensive line a la Russell Wilson, or you then need that offensive line that is just dominant a la Cleveland, who's had, let's say Mayfield's been a pretty average quarterback so far, but they've got that dominant offensive line. So that's what we're looking at here. And when I look at my adjustments that I make in the preseason, we're looking at the top teams here. I wanted your opinion on, let's first look at who doesn't deserve to be up there. What are the teams we want to fade that are at the top of this list this year?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And I'd start with, I was just saying off air, I wish there was a no or a counter bet that we could do that to say this team will not make the Super Bowl. And we'll be able to get a little more into that as you look down to conference and more so division winners, where you can get down and dirty a little bit. That Super Bowl winner is just less likely to be a massive shock than anything else. But I'd say a couple that stand out to me is really weird, just even being in this group. Number one, the Saints. I think the Saints, I just don't see the angle to how they have this, even a very good season. Drew Brees gone, Michael Thomas pretty much toast. The entire wide receiver is a bunch of literal ne'er-do-wells. You can't name even one of them, John. I challenge you to name one.
Yeah, I forget them all. It's
exactly. I don't have to think too hard. I can name them because I'm fantasy football maniac, but I didn't expect you. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be able to know how to name one. So they have no wide receivers on the team. Not really clear who the quarterback is. I don't think they belong in this group at all. It should not be a top 10 consideration for me. Another one is the Patriots. I mean, this is purely reputational that the Patriots are showing up over here, plus 3,500, with the same odds as some teams that I kind of like. And there are some teams that are missing here that I like significantly better, which I'm going to give you my first bet right here. And you're going to have to scroll down because it's a plus 500. It's a plus 5,000 bet on. You're going to hear this team name from me a lot over the course of this podcast because I believe they're the most underrated team from a betting. I don't think this team is going to win the Super Bowl. Let's not go crazy. But plus 5,000 odds, John. Hang on a second. All right, let me go to my handy dandy calculator. That is implying a 1.9% probability. So don't lock it in. But the Washington football team is shockingly underrated here. This is a team that had the second best defense in the NFL last year. They're a very elite defensive team, right? Their issue was they actually had a pretty good year, John, without any quarterback play whatsoever. I'm not saying they had bad, they had no quarterback. They were just in there running the football, not worrying about throwing it, no real quarterback play whatsoever last season. Nothing. Now, they had nothing. Who was their quarterback last year? Can you name him?
Haskins for a bit, and they had Alex Smith.
I mean, I said they didn't have a quarterback. Yeah. The best guy on the team was Taylor Heineke, and he only came in for the last week. He was the best guy. So they had nothing.
Now the thing with Washington was they did catch a break last year with the Dak injury. Not that Dallas was putting up a lot of points, but they weren't winning games early.
They were losing games. Yeah, sure. And it also helps that the rest of the NFC East sucks, but I think that's still in play right here. The rest of the NFC East still kind of sucks. I'm not ready to anoint Jalen Hurts like a lead you to the playoffs quarterback for the Eagles. We'll see. Daniel Jones, it's all hope and prayers that he'll be any different from the Garbaggio that he was last season. I hope so. I own him in Dynasty. I really hope he turns it around and gets something for that player. But in fairness, He sucked last year, like really bad, really, really bad. So you have a division, and we'll get to this. I'm going to wind up repeating myself, but I like Washington to win that NFC East division, which I think is the softest division. And you give me 1.9% odds that a very, very good defensive team makes the Super Bowl. Why is it so low? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it should be, I think they have a greater than 2% chance of winning the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, I'm coming out with a similar logic. I like where you're going here when you're looking at a bad division. So this was obviously one of the historically bad divisions a year ago. We couldn't even get a team above 500. We're looking, obviously Dallas is going to be the favorite with Dak back. Now, you were talking about it earlier. You're not 100% sure, hey, is Dak, or actually I believe I was talking to Ked, and he's not that confident that that Dak even makes it through the entire season. Well, so that's why he was also on Washington like you. Now, I'm thinking in the same vein, but I'm going a little bit further out. What if Hurts is the guy? Now, he's looked pretty good. At plus 10,000, if we're talking long shots here, they could certainly make the like that. Looks like a divisional bet to me that I like on the long shots. Let's just take a look at what the divisional odds are to win the division.
Let me pop this money line in here. So I mean, yeah, I definitely like divisional. I definitely like these for divisional bets better. Yeah, 0.1% odds. You're plus 10,000 implies a probability of under 1%.
Yeah, I just like the fact that firstly, to win the Super Bowl, you got to get to the playoffs. So their road to the playoffs, just like Washington, I think it's an easier road. How the Giants are favored over, I guess it's a Barkley thing. I don't know. To me, the Giants are the worst team here because of the quarterback. When I'm looking at these things, I'm looking at quarterbacks. If I'm looking to play long shots, I'm looking for quarterbacks that can surprise me to the upside. I think that's where it all comes from. Eventually, it's going to be the quarterback that's going to get you there. I do appreciate Washington. I love Washington's defense. I love the guys, the players on that side of the ball. I enjoy watching them play. I think in this league, though, you've got to have that quarterback who's going to do it. Now, Washington's got, with Fitzpatrick, and they've got the weapons there. They've got a couple of weapons. They could be interesting. You're going to have a lot better offense than you did last year. But my thing is, what if Hurts is one of those, turns into one of these guys where let's not call him Mahomes, but he could be up there with a Kyler Murray. If you put Kyler Murray on this team, and let's say Hurts is Kyler Murray, if Kyler Murray was on this team, they might be the favorites to win this division, or at least right there with the Cowboys. Right? We know the Cowboys have the best talent.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your takes here. So, I agree the Cowboys have the best talent across the board. But again, we've seen with the Cowboys, Dak already hurt in the preseason. There's a little bit of that risk there, and you got to factor that into these types of bets. So I'm with that. Eagles have done it. This NFC East is almost always a wide open division. So I just think it's smart money move over long term to sort of just bet the biggest underdog in the futures, because give me the biggest, plus 550. That is, let's see here. That's about a 15% implied probability. That's 25% would be even odds across the four teams. Are they really that different, these four teams, is the question. And I would say we've seen the Eagles do it before. I think you're probably right. They got a better than 15% chance of winning the division. Again, I prefer Washington at plus 230. Implied probability there is 30%. I would say I'd put Washington maybe closer to 45% chance of winning this division. Give Dallas maybe like 40. I don't know, maybe that's a little high, but maybe 40%. Maybe put Dallas around 40%. I'd give the Eagles maybe 17 or 18%. And I don't see a scenario where the Giants win, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible, but I just can't see it with that quarterback. I think he's had enough time for us to show what to show us what he could do. Now, give me another division that you think is either. See, I look at it two ways: either really bad divisions or really good divisions where you can get a long shot to come out. Is there another division where you think a long shot could come out of?
I don't know about a long shot, but I think I have what I would consider a lock bet. So if you scroll up a little bit here, and yeah, we take a look at which one was it? Go up one more here. Yeah, if you take a look at the AFC East, okay, my division. right? I think there are only two competitive teams in the AFC East. I don't understand why the Patriots are the same odds as the Dolphins. It's purely reputational. It's purely Bill Belichick. They are still a team with either a rookie, not ready to really be competitive guy in Mac Jones at the helm, or a completely washed up veteran in Cam Newton at the helm. The defense wasn't great last year either. There's nothing about the wide receiver group is uninspiring at best. Tom Brady was able to take a bunch of garbage and make them into a good offense. Not Tom Brady is not going to be able to do that. So I think there are only two competitive teams in the NFC East. I believe the Bills are absolutely the rightful favorite, and I would like to bet the Bills at minus 150. I think, yeah, I give them about a 75 to 80% chance of winning this division. But the only other team that can compete with them is the Miami. So my risk-free sort of hedge, not really truly risk-free, but kind of risk-free, would be you bet Buffalo and you hedge that money with a bet on Miami just in case. So how does that work? Let's say I wanted to put $1,500 on Buffalo. I'm mentioning dollar amounts because the units are going to confuse even me. So I'm going to mention the dollar amounts. I want to put $1,500 on Buffalo to win the division. Going to get back $1,000 if they win, right? But I risk $1,500. So in order to hedge it, I'm going to put $357. I'm going to put $425.
Yeah.
Let's do a little quick math. John, you had it ready. I like that.
Yeah. I knew where you were going.
I'm going to put about $400 on Buffalo, on Miami to hedge the bet. Now, I don't know if you need to hedge it, but I would feel pretty comfortable that bet at $1,500 and another $400 on Miami to cover my $1,500. I'm going to lose the $400. I'm going to win the $600 when the Bills win the division. That's a $600 profit on that bet. And if Miami happens to win, something happens to Josh Allen, shit happens, right? Josh Allen gets hurt. Sorry, Bills fans, not trying to mush you. But with the hedge on, there's no mush. You can't mush when you have a hedge on. So let's say Allen gets hurt, something crazy happens, Bills don't win the division. Miami, to me, easily the next team in line. Your bet is covered. So a hedge bet, you bet the Bills, cover your bet with Miami.
Let me ask you this, because I want to go back to the Saints that you were talking about before, because I feel like this almost plays into your same thinking with the Patriots, right? They're losing a legendary quarterback. And is this reputation that's going on with the Saints right now? Also, where do you think it changes depending on what quarterback they go with? Are they better with Hill? Or are they better with Winston?
I'm going to tell you something, and I don't think it's popular opinion. I think they're definitely better with Hill. I don't even think it's close. I don't think the Saints have the weapons to allow a quarterback like Jameis Winston to help them. So they definitely should go with Taysom Hill. What they will do, I don't know. But I think they should do that. And if you look at this division, I mean, this is a real the Bucs are winning this thing, except for this, John. And this is the same thing. I don't want to mush Josh Allen. Tom Brady's old, right? So what are the odds that a 47-year-old Tom Brady, 49-year-old Tom Brady, I don't even know how old he is anymore. He's just old, right? Legitimately, I think he's 44. So is he 44?
No, I think he's a little younger than that, but it's up there.
He's old AF, okay?
He is.
Now, he's not human. We know this. TB12. He's the GOAT of all time. Greatest football.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 44. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. He's old as fuck.
Okay.
You don't even know it. That's what I'm saying. People are like, this is a 44-year-old man. I'm 44.
Yeah, you look a whole lot worse than Tom Brady
Dude,
does.
My shoulder hurts. I don't even play football. I got problems. I get out of bed. I hear sounds. It's not pretty at all. Dude, like the creaking, the snapping noises. Like I just walked downstairs to play ping pong against my kid. I'm like, I think I fucked my knee up. I just walked down the stairs. I'm going to call it my ping pong injury. Fucking playing ping pong.
You don't get as much sleep as Tom Brady does. That's the problem. He gets 9 hours a night. That might be where you're lacking.
If Giselle was here wearing me out, I'd have 9 hours of sleep too. I fucking sleep like the happiest.
Like a baby.
Anyway, yeah, like a baby. But here's the deal. So outside of like a Tom Brady injury, the Bucs are winning this, right? But Tom Brady injury is realistic. But the thing with the hedge here, I don't like the hedge on the Saints because I don't think the Saints are the second best team. I don't know. I think the Saints are.
Well, is there any chance the Falcons or Carolina can even be in the mix in there?
No, that's a no. How I don't understand what's wrong. Falcons are one of these teams that you never understand why they lose so much, but they just keep doing it, right? Like there's a lot of talent on the offense, and there's decent players across the board, and then they keep losing, and you wonder, I don't know what's going on. Why do they keep losing? Carolina, I think if any team, but with Sam Darnold would have to have a miraculous turnaround for that team to not be terrible. So I think by default, the Saints are are second here because just the Falcons just have not been good, and the Panthers prove it. I do think the Panthers will be better than people expect because Christian McCaffrey is so good, and he'll be back, and they actually have good weapons at wide receiver. And again, I don't think Darnold is great, but any player leaving an Adam Gase system has a chance to shock us the next year. Did you know that Adam Gase is now the offensive coordinator for one of the better high school football teams somewhere? And you know what's fucked up?
What happened?
That team sucks now.
Yeah, well, if we could fade that team, I would as well.
Yeah.
Gase has been a nightmare.
They're bad now.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't, I don't know what I don't know what he and Peyton Manning had together.
No, he and Peyton Manning had. You ever have he had that beautiful relationship where you're the boss, but your underling is smarter than you and better than you in all ways, and you just step out of the way and go, "This makes me look good." I'll give you a prime example. This is a Howard Stern reference. I can't even remember on the Howard Stern show. There was a producer or somebody who was in charge of the station, like Chernoff or some name. I forgot the name.
Tom Chiasano.
Fucking A, yes. Right? So they had some guy, and that dude just oh, I'm the boss, but really, you've ridden an entire career off of just you made a hire of Howard Stern, then this radio state, everything that you've done since has just been a miracle that you hired this guy. That's what Peyton Manning was. That man was oh my God, Adam Gase got to be the coordinator for Peyton Manning. Now he sucks at it, but it doesn't matter because Peyton Manning doesn't use offensive coordinators. He is the offensive coordinator.
He is. Yeah, he does that. This drives me nuts about all team hires. They find the best teams and then they go after their coordinators. And I'm like, well, don't you think Patrick Mahomes had something to do with Nagy, or don't you think the what's his name up in New England, who's the coordinator still?
No, Josh McDaniels, I think might be good.
Well,
I think he might be good. There are times when that guy might actually be good. It's hard for teams to know.
You just don't know. But the Adam Gase they always go for those guys.
The Adam Gase one, you knew.
Yeah, well, you knew during the press conference. That's for sure. All right, well, let's get back into some of these teams. Now, this is where I want to bring in some of your fantasy knowledge here. Give me a quarterback, a young quarterback, or this is going to lean towards the younger quarterbacks. Give me a quarterback that you think is going to surprise us here. What's your upside quarterback? And then is that now a team that we can look to maybe outperform what the numbers are on that team, what the futures are?
Absolutely. My favorite of the young crop, and I like some of these other guys, and if we were looking at team wins, we could take some different angles with it. If we're looking at division winners, the one guy that I really like a lot and could make a major be a difference maker is Trey Lance over in San Francisco. Aside from having a head coach that really knows how to get the most out of that style. Actually, look at that. The fucking 49ers are favorite. So Trey Lance will be starting sooner than not. Now, this is a tough division, so to pick a division winner is really, really challenging. I probably wouldn't mess with this prop at all because I can make an argument for the Cardinals win in that division too. I really like the Rams. I kind of like the Seahawks. I like every one of those teams. So this is not a bet I would make, but I would more just overview, say, Trey Lance, I think, turns around the 49ers team, makes them great again, MAGA style, which is ironic considering that Colin Kaepernick was on that team in the past. Think about it.
Yeah.
Conspiracy.
That is something for everyone to think about. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
He's making the 49ers great again.
All right. Now, this is the opposite of this is actually what I was talking about when we were looking at that NFC East. is now you look at the NFC West. This is pretty much, you're not going to be shocked, I don't think, with any. Arizona might shock you a little bit if they win because these other three teams are pretty solid.
It wouldn't shock me,
but it wouldn't shock me. So how do you have a team that won't shock you at plus 650?
I think if you're going to bet it, you got to go with these heavy underdogs because, like I said, if you're asking me who I think the favorite should be, it's interesting that it's the 49. I think it should be the Rams, but like they're so close together, it's basically the same implied probability. But like it wouldn't shock me if Arizona won. I think Arizona has a pretty good defense. Kyler Murray will probably take a leap forward in his passing skill set this year. If that does happen, then that team should be right in it, right up till the end. So, but it's all good teams here. Will Seattle shock you if they win the division? Absolutely not. So I think in this division you go just take the juice, so to speak, on the heavier underdogs, or just don't mess with it. It's not one I really want to mess with too hard.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I was saying I like to look at the really strong, the teams where they're strong top to bottom, and then the divisions where they're weak top to bottom. That's where sometimes you could find that value on the team that's the third or fourth choice in that division. So I'm kind of leaning towards maybe taking Arizona as a bet here and taking a shot. To me, it's all about quarterback. It's all about quarterback, and he's a kid who he's shown a lot of. Obviously, now he's one of the top fantasy guys. Where do you have him in your fantasy rankings, quarterbacks?
I have him QB3 overall. So Kyler Murray's coming in. I got Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Kyler Murray in that order.
So listen, there's a high
That's right.
correlation.
By the way, I just want to point out that I just said I got Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Kyler Murray in that order.
Well, we could get into that at another time, but I did hear I was watching Cez on a pod, and his wife was she's got a number one pick in their league, and she was thinking about taking Josh Allen in a 2 quarterback league, Superflex.
I support it. I support that decision. I support it. Not to say I think like Allen's a better. We're going to talk about who's better than who. By the way, that doesn't matter. I think they're both awesome, but Allen just does a little bit more scoring with his legs, and I think that's enough that you could take the shot if you want to do it a little different. But it's definitely splitting a hair. It's not so hot of a hot take.
I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the North, the AFC North, because this one interests me as well. Talk about young. Now, let's start at the bottom. What do you think about Burrow? Do they have any shot here at plus 2,500 to win the division? You've got he was promising last year. Do they have any shot or any? Okay, so we're throwing them out. What about these other 3 teams?
So look how close these odds are. These are all really good teams, right? Steelers, still a good team. Browns look great at the end of last season. Ravens, another really good team. So I don't mind the Steelers at plus 500. Take the shot. Listen, does Ben Roethlisberger have a lot of longevity left in him? No. Is he potential for an injury every single game? Sure. But we're talking plus 500 odds. I think the Steelers team, they have an elite defense. They have a great offense. What's bad? Now they have a running back. What's bad about this team? Nothing. There's not. The only thing that you could say I don't love is Roethlisberger's old, and he probably is going to get hurt at some point this year. But, trying to predict that is ridiculous. You've got a 16% implied probability here. It's really a 3-team competition. So, average would be 33% between these 3. If I'm assigning the Bengals, let's say a 2% nothing probability, so yeah, I think there's value in the 16% implied probability of plus 500 on the Steelers. We could certainly see Lamar Jackson get injured. We could certainly see the Browns revert. I think the Browns are very good. Don't hate me, Browns fans, but you could see the Browns revert a little bit back to some of their sort of bumbling ways. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me if it did.
Yeah, the Browns are my big fade of the year. So that's my big. I like I like the under on their total. I believe their total was up around 10.5. We can look at totals, but regular season win totals, and by the time we find it here, but Cleveland, 10.5 the over under, and it's minus 110 on the juice. I like that under. They got to go 11-6 here to catch that over. Cleveland. I mean, are you leaning on the under with me as well?
Yeah, I don't hate that under at all. It's funny. The over-unders have me all bazoinged in my brain because the 17 games, it just makes everything feel a little different than usual. But Yeah, I don't hate the under here. Again, partially because they're in that very tough division. So it's not going to be easy wins against the Steelers. It's not going to be easy wins against the Ravens. It's not going to be easy. Well, Bengals will be pretty easy wins, but the other teams are pretty good. They got to play them twice, so they're not in the easiest of divisions right there, and that alone could lead to 4 of those 7 losses that you need to hit your numbers.
You probably don't have their schedule off the top of your head. I've been looking at this one because this is one of my favorite bets. So I've been looking at this. I've been looking at the schedule. The only cakewalks they have outside of the division, they've got. I believe they've got Houston and Detroit. I believe those are the only 2 games that they have that are. You would be shocked if they lost.
I'd like to see their schedule. That's a really great way to do it. I mean, if you're going to bet team totals, you do want to look at. You do want to look at the schedule and just get a sense of, all right, you want to go through it, and I'm sure you've done this.
I've done it, yeah.
And say, hang on, let me. I'm bringing it up here, but you want to go through it and look at each game and go win, loss, win, loss. All right, here we go. Here's the schedule. Preseason. All right, Chiefs week 1 loss.
The Chiefs
win against the Texans. Bears tough week. I'm not handing them a win there. I think they probably beat the Bears, but I'm not handing the win. Vikings tough game. Chargers tough game. Cardinals tough game. Broncos tough game. Probably a win. Steelers, Browns again. So Bengals easy win. Patriots probably an easy win. Lions an easy win. I mean, I should have written this down. Ravens tough game. Ravens back to. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Ravens back to back. That's never.
I think there's a bye. Yeah, bye mixed in there, but they go back to back. Yeah,
how do you like that, right? Yeah. And then they play the Packers late in the season, Steelers and Bengals twice. So yeah, I didn't go through it and assign, but hey, John,
you didn't give him 11. You didn't give him 11 wins.
I'll put it. I'll give him the wins. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Chiefs loss. Texans win. Bears, I'm gonna give it to them. Vikings no. Chargers no. Cardinals no. Broncos yes. Steelers no. Bengals, Patriots, Lions. That's 6. Ravens. We give them one of those. 7. Raiders. I'll give them. Packers a loss. Steelers a loss. Bengals 9. So it's close.
You give them 9. Yeah, well, that's a lot when you're looking at a 10.5 total. If you think not, and that's actually where I have them on my numbers. I've got them somewhere around 9. I'll give you my. I've actually got them only at 8.5 expected wins when I ran it through the model. So 9, that's a big. That's off big from 10.5. So anyway, that's my big under. Last year that they were minus in the scoring margin. They're
a defensive team. They're going to play. This is a team. I like Cleveland. I like Cleveland a little bit. They're a team that plays excellent defense. They run the football when they can. It's not great for fantasy production, but they'll run the football when they can. They will lean on that run, very much like Seattle does. And this is more of a fantasy scoring thing, but part of the deal with Seattle is they never have like 13 wins either. They're always playing these tight games. When you play that tight game style, you sometimes lose games that you should win. You lose some close games in that sense. So, I think there's definite value in that under bet, but I wish it was a 16-game season and we're betting under 10.5. I'd feel really confident. That extra game is just throwing me off.
It does mess with me too.
I think all these totals, we almost want to be leaning the over. You've got another division up here.
I want you to talk about this because we got another young quarterback. So we got a quarterback we haven't seen. We got to see some glimpses. Looked a little shaky to start and then came on fire here in the second half of that game this past weekend. And that is the guy that maybe your Jets should have taken.
I'm sick over it. Justin Fields. I love Lance. I love Fields. I like everybody, all the young guys. Fields looks great. So, yes, you've got a Bears team coming off of we don't have a quarterback era. Going into we now do have a quarterback era. Number one, how long will it take until their coaching staff realizes that, the red rocket is not the guy? I don't think it's going to take very long, maybe 2 weeks. But it already upsets me that their field should be starting from week 1. Let me make that very clear. He should be starting from week 1. Every week they don't start him is a waste. Stupid waste. And I hope that halfway through the first game, they bench Dalton and put Fields in there. Now, that being said, yeah, plus 550, implied probability under 15%. The Packers have some issues. Number one, as great as Aaron Rodgers was last year, and he was epically amazing, he's also a guy who's been injured a lot over the last few years. He runs the football a little bit, maybe more than a 39-year-old quarterback should, and he is susceptible to injury. So I would throw this at you, John. What are the odds just of like Aaron Rodgers getting hurt at 39 years old, a guy who's been hurt? Would you give it 25%? Is that too high? Is 20?
Yeah, maybe it's a little too high. He certainly doesn't run as much as he used to. He's not going to take as many hits. He gets rid of the ball pretty good. And in this league now, quarterbacks are so heavily protected. That's why these guys are able to play until 39, 40. I know they're better conditioned, but they're not taking the hits. They're not taking concussions, those type of hits. And you can't hit them. You can't hit low. You can't hit high, which is great for the game and having these guys. But it's giving these guys longevity. So I'm going to say, less than 20% chance that he misses any significant time on the year. But you're right. If he does, now everyone's moving to Minnesota. When Green Bay, when it looked like Rodgers was not going to come back to Green Bay, a lot of people were jumping on Minnesota. I'm almost thinking I'd rather take the Bears here. Again, to me, it's always about the quarterback. I know Cousins. I know what Cousins can do. He can certainly win a division. Cousins is what Cousins is. But I always like, that shiny new toy. We got the shiny new toy in Fields. And again, just like Hurts, could this kid be a rookie? Hurts wasn't necessarily a rookie phenom, but this would be Hurts' rookie year, just about. And let's say Fields is just some rookie phenom and can take them. Like you said, the scenario where if Rodgers gets hurt, listen, they're down there with Detroit. I mean, that's a 10-point per game swing with Aaron Rodgers out.
They're gone.
So yeah,
They're done.
So that opens it wide up. And the Bears defense, look, the Bears made the playoffs and should have beaten Philadelphia, obviously, with Trubisky. Now, there's nothing not to like. This is what I'm saying. When you look at the Bears defensively, we know they're a good team. Like we'll give them a top 10 defense. I don't know where they're going to fall this year, but I'd say confidently the Bears defense will be top 10. Fine. Now, what do you have on that offensive side of the football? Well, you've got an elite wide receiver in Allen Robinson, right? A quality second wide receiver in Darnell Mooney, a guy we like a lot at tight end in Cole Kmet, and a running back who has potential to be an elite level running back in David Montgomery. So all of the ingredients, and they haven't looked great together, which is why you're getting the plus 550. The team has never gelled because you went from Mitch Trubisky, who was, again, horrific. Mitch, I don't have a nickname for him. Horrific. He sucked, right? He sucked. So he was so bad that offense never looked good. But when you look at the actual players, there are good players on this team that have been hampered by a terrible quarterback. So you add in a Deshaun Watson clone in Justin Fields. That's right. I said it. Deshaun Watson without the creepy. When Justin Fields gets a massage, he stays on his stomach. Or at least leaves the towel on.
Work the glutes.
Yeah.
But I'm staying face down. You know what I'm saying? But
absolutely.
He is that level. Like he's a dynamic. He can run it. Do you know, John? Give me some sports better analysis here. Okay. You get a quarterback on the team, and if I can keep 2 third and long plays alive over the course of just one game with my legs, so a running quarterback that has the ability to convert third and long twice in a game, how many points per game should that lead to for that? I don't have the analytics in front of me, but I'm going to guess that just doing that twice a game is like the difference between winning and losing multiple games over the course of a season.
Yeah, there's no doubt, because if you can give yourself an extra 3 points a game, that's huge. When you if you run a Pythag formula,
just that one first down, third and long,
and that could get you 3 more points a game, which is probably a game and a half in the standings in the 17 games, which is a lot when you consider most teams are really close to that 500. It's just about the ball's got to bounce right for you. You have the elite teams, you've got the really bad teams, and then you've got everyone else. We used to say between 6 and 10. Now I guess everyone else is between now, let's say 7-11 and
I don't
11
even
and 7.
know anymore. I don't
Whatever
know.
it is.
It's 17 games.
It's throwing me all off. But
why would they give us an odd number of games to make it even more difficult? Go to 18.
Yeah, and you're going to be 7 and 10, 10 and 7. That's going to be the range of teams, and it's going to that's going to be the bulk of your team. That's like 20 teams are going to fall in that range, and a lot of that just has to do with the bounce of the ball. Now, like you said, when you have that quarterback who can keep a drive alive, third down, that's like getting a turnover.
It's exactly what that is. What leads to wins in the NFL greater than anything else? Turnovers. But it's essentially a turnover. You convert 3rd and 15. Everybody knows it. Think about, guys, when you guys are watching this, right? Think about when you're at home and you're watching your favorite team and they have the opponent 3rd and long. Now, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 17. And it's, Pat Mahomes, and he just scrambles for the first down, and you're like, oh, it's such a killer. A, they added 17 yards, but B, it's like a turnover. So it's a game-changing move, and everybody knows that a couple turnovers a game, your team wins. It's the same thing with these dynamic running backs. So I think this style of player can really transform a team. And so essentially, when you're betting the Bears, I actually think they're a better team than the Vikings straight up as long as Fields is starting. So you're betting the Bears here. You're just hoping that the Packers kind of falter somehow. If that means an Aaron Rodgers injury, if that means just like the team ain't getting along, there was some offseason things going on there, you're betting on that. And at plus 550 odds, you're talking about an implied probability of, I like to get the real numbers, 15.3%.
Right.
By the way, I get my implied probabilities, John, on the sharpbets.app website. If you click on betting calculators, it's really, really important when you're considering any bet to check what the implied probability is, just to train your brain to understand, what am I actually betting on? I'm betting on the Bears having a better than 15% chance of winning a division with only 3 other teams in it, where even odds would be 25% per team.
Yeah, it's actually really important you say that. I was wondering how you were getting it so
I'm on
quickly.
the sharpbets.app website, dude. That's what I use.
It's a great way to look at it, because when you're modeling, what you're essentially doing in all sorts of models for sports betting is finding out what percentage chance a team has to win a game or win the division, whatever it may be, and then you're converting that into odds. So even if you don't have a model, just think to yourself before you start looking at these odds, like, well, what kind of percentage chance do I give the Bears to win? Right. And if you're giving them a 25% chance to win, then you have to be hammering that bet. Right. And that's how you have to look at it. So, and we've got, I hate to plug the Sharp Academy, we're plugging stuff, but if you go on our YouTube page or in the app, of course, we've got what's something called the Sharp Academy, and you'll get a lot of this information, how to calculate expected value based on these implied odds that you're talking about. So a lot of good information in there if you're curious about sports betting.
Sharp Academy, for me, is one of my favorite things that we're doing with the Sharp brand in general. The whole idea is teach newer sports bettors the real ins and outs of the game, to understand like what a seasoned bettor is actually looking for. Because I got to tell you, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of my friends locally, people outside of, quote, the industry. They don't even understand that implied, like, why you place a bet, where value is, what it means. They say, hey, I think this guy's going to win, I'm going to bet him. I'm like, no. Do you think he's got an 80% chance of winning? So that implied probability and understanding is really, really important. Let's move on to the AFC South, John, because that's a really fascinating division as well. You have the worst team in the league, the Houston Texans, in that division. Worst team in the league. We can wipe them out. Then we've got the Jaguars with the young quarterback. Mystery. I'm guessing still not going to be that good. And then we're left with 2 pretty good seemingly teams, with the Titans and the Colts. And John, to me, I want to know, in your opinion, what wins here, because essentially we've got the Titans, which have a very, I'm just going to say it. They have a dynamic offense. They can do it however they want on offense. They've got 2 elite wide receivers. I don't think Julio is a last the full season guy anymore. That's my personal opinion. But they have 2 elite wide receivers. They got a nice tight end over there. And then a nice tight end. Ferkster, that's my guy. He's not that good, but he's my guy. I always love him. I can't quit him. On the flip side, you've got the Colts, who are an elite defense and a team coached by possibly, I don't like saying number one, by a top 3 or 4 head coach in the league in Frank Reich, right? A guy who's good enough to get the best out of his team, elite running back, elite defense on the Colts. Colts, again, in the competition for top 3, maybe best defense in the league, but certainly, a likely top 5 defense this season. Who wins, John? Do we go with the elite offense or do we go with the elite defense, quality offense? The Titans, I would say, have a bad defense. They have a component of their team that's really not good. Whereas the Colts, their offense, we don't know what it's going to look like under Carson. I think Carson Wentz is terrible, but maybe Frank Reich can perform a miracle there. And in that case, they become this dark horse, not just to win the division, but to win maybe a game or 2 in the playoffs.
Yeah, this division, it confuses me because of there's so many changes here. You get the new quarterback in the Colts. I agree with you with Frank Reich. Again,
I don't want to say number one because
whatever, but I'll take him
10
on my
more minutes. Just give me 10 more minutes. I'll be like, oh, he's the best, and So I'm going to say top 5, right?
But yeah, I'll take Frank Reich any day, and he has that history with Wentz. Can he get Wentz back to what was MVP form there in their Super Bowl season? If he gets him remotely close, I mean, we saw what they did with an aging Phillip Rivers, who was okay. Rivers is good to man a quality team, but he's not a guy who's going to go out there and, he's not Patrick Mahomes, right?
Rivers was so bad last year. I actually have a hard time fathoming where Wentz, even as much as I'm down on Wentz, no one's more down on Wentz than me. I've been ripping on Carson Wentz since before it was cool to rip on Carson Wentz, and it. But, Philly fans arguing with me, sending me hate. Now they're like, dude, you were right the whole time, bro. So I'm fucking. But meanwhile, they're sending me hate, death threats and shit. I'm like, dude, I'm not. I'm going to tell it like it is. But they're like, he took us to the Super Bowl. Did he? Or was it Big Dick Nick? But anyway, Carson Wentz not good, but better than Rivers, I think.
That's the question. I gave them a bump up in my on my adjustments. I was with you on the Wentz thing. We didn't know each other back then. I mean, when they won the Super Bowl, I said, boy, what a perfect opportunity to trade Wentz. Because you will get in. No, they were never going to do that, obviously.
No.
And Philly fans killed me. I had tweeted this. I had set up in forums. I'm like, this is the time. You trade this guy, you're going to get the world. He was on an MVP type of a season. You'll get anything you want from any team that needs a quarterback at this point. First round draft picks and everything. You've got a guy who just won the Super Bowl.
But in your mind,
he proved he could win.
It was in your mind. It was because they could keep Nick Foles.
Yeah, because you proved you could win with Foles. Now Foles has done nothing since, but neither has Wentz. So they still would have been in a much better situation by getting whatever draft picks they could have gotten. Which any team who needed a quarterback, maybe the Jets at that time would have given them every draft pick they had. That's kind of a move the Jets would make. But anyone who needed a quarterback was going to give you anything for what seemed to be a franchise type of quarterback, right? Because like we've said from the start of this show, and we say it all the time, it all starts with the quarterback. So once you have that quarterback, it makes your job as a GM that much easier because you can go ahead and maybe spend a little less on your offensive line when you have a guy who can make your offensive line look better. You don't have to have that great, look at now that they've paid in Seattle, since Wilson's been paid, that defense is no more the dominant defense that was winning Super Bowls early in his career. But he's still been a winning quarterback because he's Russell Wilson.
No, he's a great player. It's totally different. Now, let me ask you on the betting side here. And again, these are long-term bets, guys. And for those of you guys watching, betting NFL futures, one of the negatives of doing this is you're tying up money for a long period of time in your sports betting accounts. And so be careful with these. And I'm going to throw this hedge concept back at you a minute here because there is the added factor of tying up your money for a long period of time. Not great. Now, I don't really know. Between the Titans and the Colts, I don't know who's going to win the division. It could be either one of these guys. What I'm very confident in is it will be one of those two and not the Jaguars and not the Texans. I even think Jaguars at plus 600 is not I would make there. I don't think there's value in that line at all. I think, an implied probability here of 14.2%. I don't give him that chance. I give him like his 5-7% chance. Some weird shit happening in them, or Johnny Lawrence being so great. Trevor Lawrence, Johnny Lawrence, Cobra Kai.
That's right.
Trevor Lawrence being so great that, all of a sudden they're this great team. I don't see it. He's not that style of quarterback. I don't think this team is going to all of a sudden win the division. So I don't like hedging this style of bet. Is there a hedge here to be had? Could you do Titans minus 105, Colts plus 140?
No, I wouldn't make that bet. I'm actually just going to pass on this one altogether just because it has me confused. But to me, either you take a stand here, you pick one of those two teams. I kind of, the way I bet, I really wanted to bet the Jaguars just because I'm like, maybe Lawrence is going to be that guy. But I agree with you here. I don't necessarily see it. I was thinking that maybe a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not leaning that way. So I'm passing on the division. I'm just not going to touch any divisional bets here. But let's jump to this. Is there any chance the Chiefs do not win this division? Again, young quarterback who showed a ton of promise last year with the Chargers.
I love the Chargers. I love Herbert, Justin Ebert, as I like to call him. But no, the Chiefs are winning this division. I actually think minus 250 is a fair price to pay for this bet. I have no issue laying the chalk on this one and just taking the Chiefs, take the minus 250, put up $250, get $100 back at the end of the season. Pays for your fantasy football league where you put $100 in, probably lost it because you didn't follow my draft kit. So now you can make that $100 back. Now, if you did follow my draft kit and you win your fantasy football league, then you win this extra $100. Now you can buy yourself a little trophy for that extra money. But yeah, I think KC minus 250 is free money.
Yeah, I have a hard time going against it. I won't make that bet. It's just too much because on a future, I hate laying 250.
Can I parlay it? Can I parlay it with Bills minus 150? I think those two bets are so likely.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, let's. All right, so if we parlay these two together, we get combined odds of, let's say, minus 150 for the parlay, minus 120. I don't know how. I can't calculate that in my head, but I would rather, maybe it's minus 100, maybe it's even odds or something, that combo. So I think it'd be about even odds.
Minus 130. Yeah, you should get plus 130.
All right. So I will take the parlay of the Chiefs and Bills to win their divisions at minus 130 odds, for $130. You've really, I would say minus 130 implies, I don't know, 52% probability. Give me about a 70% chance of these two teams winning, especially the Chiefs, but the Bills too. The Bills are so much better than these other teams in the AFC East. They really shouldn't have any trouble running away with the division.
That's about a 43% probability you're factoring in there that both of those events happen. So
yeah, I think it's higher than that. So yeah. I'm fine with it.
Now, you were talking about the money. When you bet these futures, you have to lay money out of your pocket right away. Back in the day when we were betting with our local bookies back in Brooklyn, it was on credit. Now everyone's got to put that. You got to lay that money out. I actually did a video today on this, on future value of money. Just most people don't factor this in when they're doing this, and interest rates are low. But I actually look at this stuff. I look at how much money can I make in the next 6 months. The Super Bowl is exactly 180 days from today, because I was building my spreadsheet for the for that. And how much is that money worth to me now? Now how can I work that money now? Can I invest that money now as opposed to putting a future bet? I know it sounds crazy, but this is in our advanced stuff that we're doing over at the Sharp app. For professionals, I'm just looking. You're looking at an edge, and if I'm losing out on 4 or 5% of it, it's not worth it maybe to make that futures bet.
I think you're losing. Listen, if you have that money in crypto,
well, there you go.
You're probably losing out on 100% gain between now and 180 days from now. Put some Ethereum in your account.
Talking up your book.
Doubling that bad boy up. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So if I have to think about it that way, I need to call my bookmaker and put the bet on the credit.
The credit's much better. Yeah. But, we're talking legalized sports betting now. Okay. But one technique that I use, and I mentioned this to you actually, was, and I just want to throw this out to the guys here before we wrap it up. When you're betting futures and you're betting win total futures, there's something that some pros will do. I'm not a big hedge arbitrage. I like arbitrage and hedging. They're two different things. Again, I've got videos on all that stuff. But if you take futures, if you take a bad team, let's say the Jets or Detroit or Houston, someone with a low win total number, or you do the opposite, take a team with a high win total number, Tampa, Kansas City, the teams like that. if you take those teams and you bet them on the under, take the bad team, bet their under total, and then bet them each week with the point spread. In other words, what you're hoping to have happen is they keep the games tighter than the point spread. They're going to be a dog in just about every game they play. Like, I don't think Houston's going to be favored in any game they play this year. I haven't looked at the schedule. Maybe, possibly at home against Jacksonville, but probably not, depending on when that is. So if they're a dog, you're going to get points in every single game. The Jets are almost going to get points in all games, right? Kansas City's going to be laying points in almost every game they play. Tampa's going to be laying points. If you go the opposite of how you take them over their win total, those 11 win teams, 11.5 win teams, and then bet against them. And then do the opposite. I like it better with the bad teams, taking them on the under and then betting them with the points. If you could even go 500 on your weekly bets and then cash in on that under bet, it's a good way to hedge it. So if you do that, you're going to want to play a higher amount on that future because you're hedging it in between. So it's not a typical bet. You're not having as much risk on that future bet on win totals than you do.
John, I've heard of that strategy. You've mentioned it to me before, and I got to tell you, even for myself, I need maybe we'll take time to write that out on paper and show me the math on it as well. I think it would come through on the screen. You've explained it to me a couple times, and it's like, oh my God. And those style of bets I find fascinating, where you'll bet a long-term one side and then constantly do these little hedges against it on the week to week. I find that whole sort of component of sports gambling, and I'm just being straight, I find it fascinating, but it's also very complicated. It reminds me of when people explain to me in investments, options and puts and future options and all this stuff, and buying the stock and then selling options against it. And it's like, oh my God, this sounds awesome, but at the same time, I'm not sure I follow it so well. So let's do a future show where we kind of put that down and really get into some of those crazy it's a different style of hedging, but I love that stuff. And it just, wow, it goes right over my head a little bit, but at the same time, I get it. I'm fascinated by it, but I want to see the numbers in front of me so I really fully grasp it, so I can maybe identify some spots like that myself. Because I don't think
before the season starts, let's come back. We'll do a whole little show on that, and we'll update it weekly so everyone could get they could kind of play along at home and inside the app. So
I love it.
Let's kind of wrap it up. We went over a bunch here. I mean, I appreciate you coming on. This is the first. We're going to be doing a lot of these. We'll do a weekly show here on futures. A lot of it's going to be geared towards the NFL, but we've got college football coming up, and then once we roll into, it's hard to believe, but then NBA and hockey and everything else is going to be they're going to be coming up right around the corner. Seems like they just ended, which I guess they just did.
John, I would let the people know as well that we will be back as always on a week-over-week basis, talking NFL in season this year, betting angles for every game. We'll be doing a show covering those betting angles every single week. So make sure that if you're watching this, wherever you're watching it, make sure you download the Sharp app on the iPhone store, on the Google store, wherever the hell you get your stuff. Get the app going. These will be delivered straight to it, or go to the YouTube feed that you see here, like and subscribe, subscribe to that channel so you can get these videos. There's non-stop sports betting content going on the Sharp YouTube channel and going through the Sharp app. Launches tonight, midnight.
That's it, man. I can't add much more than you've said. It's we're excited for it, and you'll be watching all of these. We're gonna have so much content and podcasts coming at you inside the app, which is really cool. And I think you're all gonna enjoy it. So, Geek, Kev, appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. We're gonna do more of these, and I guess I'll be seeing you over on the DFS Army side.
You will, my man. Good luck, everybody. Let's cash those bets.
All right. Thanks, guys.